Okay, everyone, my apologies. There was a little problem with the internet connection. It is now fixed. We are this week talking in our core skills pronunciation lecture about consonant clusters. Consonant clusters are very interesting. If you've never heard of them before, you'll find out all about them today. If you've heard of them before, I hope that we can give you a little bit more information to help you in your preparations for your exam to make sure that this particular pronunciation issue doesn't bring down your score, or in fact, finally understanding this issue will help improve your score overall. I did want to check before anything whether or not you managed to find these two books, the two books by Bill Bryson, Made in America, about the development of American English, and Mother Tongue, which is development of the whole English language. They are both really interesting. Whether or not you are a language specialist, I think for any learner of English, this is an extra layer of understanding, and it talks about vocabulary and grammar rules, but all in a very, very interesting way. If you find them, please go ahead and read them. The homework, to remind you, I was talking about lyrics, and lyrics that use elision, deletion, or assimilation. That idea, as we spoke last week, about poetic license, contracting words, using those apostrophes, whether or not it's done in a poetic way or in a normal grammatical way. Let's have a look at the three that I found. I found three. Amy Winehouse was my first, and it was from Rehab, which was strangely prescient about her early demise. It's not just my pride, it's just till these tears have dried. Till from until, and then the regular contractions, it's for it is. Then we have Ed Sheeran, 'Cause honey, your soul could never grow old, it's evergreen. So you got a contraction and an elision, 'cause. And baby, your smiles, contraction, forever in my mind and memory. I'm, contraction, thinking bout. See, get rid of the first little syllable, and then bout is one syllable, it fits in beautifully. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. And the last one is the Monkees from the 60s. Oh, I could hide 'neath the wings of the bluebird as she sings. Neath from beneath. Again, neath is one syllable, beneath is two syllables. Does it scan as two syllables? No. So just get rid of the first one, and it works. So, first question of the day, these letters belong together, okay? Now, T, C, H, P, H, R. These letters belong together. Let me ask you the question, where do they come from, do you think? What's the origin, or what's the normal home of this little set of 6 letters? Is it English? Is it another language? Is it random? I'm not saying it's random. I say they belong together. It is an English word. Definitely is. This is the word. The word is catchphrase. Catchphrase. A catchphrase, for anyone who's interested, is a phrase that somebody, especially somebody famous, has, which is basically associated with them all the time. So, I caramba is an example of a catchphrase for Bart Simpson. Homer Simpson has dough. Catchphrases. So, comedians, famous people have a catchphrase. Like, oh, Donald Trump, you're fired. So, that's a catchphrase. So, it's weird, of course, to look at TCHPHR on its own and think, what on earth is that? Well, it's part of the English language. Of course, catch and phrase, they're 2 words making one compound word, catchphrase, but it's a word nonetheless, perfectly legitimate, no hyphens, no spaces, but there it is, catchphrase. The collection of consonants in the middle of a word, okay, or on the middle of words, in the middle of words, is called a consonant cluster, okay? Forgive my preposition there. A consonant cluster is a collection of words without any interference, okay? So, in general, if you don't know what a cluster is, what is a cluster? Well, that is a star cluster. Look at all the stars grouped in together. Now, of course, that's from our perspective here on Earth. You get a telescope and you can see lots and lots of stars together. It looks like a cluster. Obviously, they're billions and billions of light years apart, but it's all in one space. Spiders, I don't know if you're afraid of spiders. A lot of people think Australia is full of dangerous spiders, and it kind of is. But you find that in a day-to-day basis, Australians are much more afraid of nuts, which is the next thing, a cluster, a nut cluster. When we moved here, my son was told off on the first day for bringing product with nuts to school. The teacher was horrified that he might poison a child who would have some kind of appalling allergic reaction to nuts. Nut cluster is a kind of dessert, kind of sweet. You mix the nuts and whatever together with a sticky, gooey thing, molasses, and then you eat it. Nut cluster is quite nice, but they do contain nuts. So don't take it to school, especially not in Australia, because a child might die. So the definition of a cluster and the verb to cluster, a group of similar things or people positioned or occurring closely together. So you could talk about a cluster of people. It's kind of, if you like, a collective noun in that respect. A crowd of people, a group of people, a cluster of people. It's a kind of a synonym for that. In terms of language, a consonant cluster, a group of consonants, as we saw in catchphrase, those 6 letters as consonants that sit together. A group of consonants which have no intervening vowel. Now, please remember, this is a pronunciation lecture. So our concern isn't so much about spelling, our concern is about sound. So when we talk about consonants, we're not only talking about the letters, we are in fact much more concerned with the sounds. So consonant clusters may be less complicated when you look at them that way. So TCH and so on, so on, so on, PHR, that's 6 letters, it's very, very overwhelming. 6 letters, TCH, PHR, catchphrase. Okay, but catchphrase, when you write it in phonetics, is 3 phonemes. Ch, f, and r. Ch, f, and r. So 3 phonemes, but 6 letters. So anytime we're talking about breaking down words into sounds, it is important to remember that it is a sound. One sound is ch, one sound is f, and one sound is r. TCH, 6 letters. So here's your first task of the afternoon or the morning, wherever you are. Read these words aloud and please tell me which of these words start with a cluster. Which of these words starts with a cluster, a consonant cluster? Remembering that it can be 2, 3, or more sounds with no vowel. Okay? Okay. So in total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 words. Anyone else want to have a guess? Okay. Well, I'm going to read them aloud to you. I'm going to read them aloud to you, and I'm very interested here. You tell me, listening to me say these words, which of these words starts with a cluster? Dune, music, furious, tune, quick, quite, and huge. I'll read them once more. Dune, music, furious, tune, quick, quite, and huge. I'm looking for somebody to give me the right answer. And so far, nobody's actually given me exactly the right answer. The answer is all of them, my friends, all of them. Every single one of these starts with a consonant cluster. Remember, I'm not talking about letters, I'm talking about sounds. So let's look at why. Why is it the case? Dune, d, music, m, y, furious, f, y, tune, t, y, quick, k, w, quite, k, w, and huge, h, y. All of these are consonant cluster sounds. Dia, mia, fia, tia, qua, qua, hia. Okay? Dune, music, furious, tune, quick, quite, and huge. Unless you speak American English, in which case it's dune and tune. The others are the same. The others are, in fact, consonant clusters in American English. But dune and tune are how an American would say that. So they have a pure vowel sound in the middle, oo. Whereas in British English, Australian English as well, it's dune and tune, or variations thereof. The consonant cluster is there, okay? So, These are called initial consonant clusters, and most of them that you'll find on a day-to-day basis are easy enough. So if we look at it, st, s, and t for street, stone, and stop. Sp, s, and p from special, spice, and spoon. Sk, school, scatter, and scoff. Sk. Sl, s, and l from slow, slap, and slope. Slope downhill. Sw, sw, as in sweep, swing, and swipe. Sweep, swing, and swipe. Please notice all of these are one-syllable words. It's not sweep, swing, and swipe. We'll come back to that, but notice please when it's a cluster and there's no intervening vowel sounds, that includes the schwa. Remember that the schwa is the sound from along, about, enough. Sn, s, and n from snip, snow, and Snape. If anyone knows Harry Potter, there he is. I've forgotten Snape's first name, if that's his first name or not. But there you go. Alan Rickman plays Snape. Sn, Snape. And sm, s, and m from smile, smooth, and smack. All right? They're small clusters. Generally speaking, they're not that confusing. The listener, the foreign speaker of English can hear the sounds. Of course, reproducing the sounds is a little different, but hearing the sounds and recognizing that there's no gap, that it's two consonant sounds leading into the rest of the word. The rest of the word. So st, sp, sk, sl, sw, sn, and sm. Okay? Great. Consonant clusters can, however, be tricky for learners of English, and some languages don't allow so many consonants to sit together without the intervening vowel sounds. What do I mean? Well, I'll give you an example. I don't speak Arabic, but I know that this can be a problem in Arabic and for Arabic speakers of English. I know that this can be a problem for Spanish and Portuguese speakers of English as well, because you don't have clusters in the same way that we have in English, okay? One of the interesting things about learning a new language is not only the sounds, but the clusters of sounds that you can make with letters. So that does sound like English, that doesn't sound like English. If you just look at the TCH, PHR from catchphrase, you'd think that wasn't English. But when you hear the sounds that you hear within, for example, catchphrase, suddenly it does make sense. Okay, so we will come back to this as well, but do be aware that what I have to do here today is talk generally about consonant clusters, not about catchphrases, but there are specific needs for every different language. Okay, different languages have different issues in catchphrases, and I think what I'll do in a future blog post is lay out some of those issues so that we can actually open an interesting discussion within the blog. All right, so your next task, do me a favor, read these words aloud, okay? Just aloud, you don't need to record yourself, just read them aloud to yourselves. Okay, so what we have here, and I'll read the words for you: splash, spring, strike, stupid, screen, and squeeze. Okay, just to be clear: splash, spring, strike, stupid, screen, and squeeze. Now, here are the phonetic symbols. Like in catchphrase, each of these has a 3-sound cluster, okay? Each of them. Now, the exception that could be pointed out, and I will point it out, is stupid, stupid. Notice, for me, British English is a 3 sound cluster, but for an American, and for the same way with, like for example, dune and tune, stupid rather than stupid. So split, s, p, and l. Spring, s, p, r. Strike, st, s, t, and r. Stupid, s, t, and y. I know it looks like a J. Please resist the temptation to call the sound a J. It's not a J, it's a y. Screen, s, k, and r, and squeeze, s, k, and w. These are 3 sound clusters, okay? That is almost as complicated as consonant clusters get in the English language. Now, there are dozens of different consonant clusters, some of which are very rare and some of which are extremely common. What I'm concentrating on at the moment in today's lecture is relatively common or very common 2 and 3 letter, or I apologize, 2 or 3 sound consonant clusters, okay? So this is what we're touching on today, and it's something, of course, over time that you will get more familiar with and you will be able to develop your skills in saying those sounds, okay? So there you are, and notice as well, by the way, split, 1 syllable, spring is 1 syllable, strike is 1 syllable, stupid is 2, but screen and squeeze also 1 syllable. It's important to know how many syllables there are in a word, or how many syllables there are meant to be in a word, because that will indicate to you whether or not you are adding these invisible sounds or these non-existent sounds to what are legitimate consonant clusters in the English language, okay? If you're saying 2 syllables, but in the dictionary says it's 1 syllable, you have to think, what am I saying wrong, okay? I'll give a few examples of that in a bit. Now, looking at the end of words, the clusters are usually 2 or 3 sounds long, okay? Now, we've looked at the beginning of the word, got 2 or 3 sounds at the beginning of the word. Now we're going to look at something at the end of the word. So, next task, read these words aloud to yourselves, please, and think about what are the final clusters. What are the sounds that you hear clustered at the end of each of these words, okay? Have a go. Okay, excellent. Some of these we've actually looked at previously, but let's have a look together. I'm going to read the words aloud, and then, very good. Somebody's given some good explanation so far. Yeah, excellent, excellent. Any more? So, cold, cold, d. Okay, it's not one sound, and by the way, ed is not a sound. L and d, as in cold, are 2 sounds. Bolt, l and t, bolt. That's 2 sounds. L and t makes lt, as in bolt. Health, somebody pointed out already. L and th, unvoiced. Health. Pushed, that's sh with t, sht. Pushed, pushed, like wished. Assist, as in list and assist, s and t, list, assist. Okay, lived is v and d. Very good. I saw Lynn got that right. Lived, v and d, and the same with loved, or loves, or loved. I think I meant to put loves, but never mind. V's, if it was loves, loved, v and d. And then drink, drink, n and k, or n and k. Which one do you think? Is it drink or drink? Drink or drink? This is why you can't take the spelling literally. The sound is a ng, as in going, coming, bring, and sing. So the ng sound comes before the k sound, drink. Okay? So there we have some examples of the final clusters. Okay, here I did put loves, in fact, I realized I have changed that. So lived and loves. Notice in every single case, there is no intervening vowel sound. There's no schwa, there's no pure vowel, there's no diphthong, nothing at all. Cold, bolt, health, pushed, assist, lived, loves, and drink. Okay, notice the symbol for the ng is an N with a funny tail curling under it. Drink, drink. Okay, excellent. Now, another task, how many consonant sounds are there at the ends of these words? Read them aloud, and then in the chat, let me know how many consonant sounds can you hear, can you make out at the end of each of these words? Okay, a couple of you on the right track there. Good, got some good answers here. A couple of you are absolutely right on the money. Okay, right, I'm going to read aloud. Stamps, lengths, friends, lists, posts, and pants. Stamps, lengths, friends, lists, posts, and pants. So, how does that translate into sound? Stamps has 3 buts. Length has 3 and s. Friends has 3 n, d, and z. Lists has 3 st and s. Posts has 3 in the same way, st and s. And pants has 3 n, t, and s. So all of them have got 3. By the way, pants in America, and strangely in Australia as well, are these things. Pants in Britain are these things. Well, I don't own a pair of pants like that, but pants in England, underpants in America, pants in America, trousers in Britain. Okay. It's not only pronunciation that's sometimes different, it's also the actual object. Strangely enough, often in the case of items of clothing. So for example, a vest in America is something completely different in Britain. Funny old thing. 2 nations divided by a common language. Now, cast your minds back to when we talked about catchphrase. Now look at these words with clusters in the middle, okay? Look at the clusters in the middle. Read these words aloud to yourself and then observe in each case you've got little blocks of letters that form a fairly substantial amount of the whole word. So if you look at the word sight screen, anyone who plays cricket or watches cricket will understand what a sight screen is. And if you don't play cricket, too bad for you. Sight screen, GHTSCR, that's all consonants. But let's think about it. All of these clusters happen in the middle of the word. So look at them. I've highlighted, in this case, I've highlighted the letters that are relevant to the sound in red. So handspring, NDSPR, ndspr. Okay, it's a bit like catchphrase. Handspring, handspring. Now, would we do the d sound, do you think? Remember when we talked about elision and we used the word handbag, it comes out as handbag rather than handbag. Would I say handspring or handspring? I would probably say handspring. So the d would disappear from elision. Abstract, there's nothing that I allied there. Berser, abstract, abstract. Extra, extra. How many sounds there in the middle? Extra. How many sounds in the middle of extra? How many consonant sounds? Anyone want to have a guess? If somebody said 4, you're absolutely right. Curse, extra. Very good. 4. It's not extra, extra. So there is a t, even though we don't dwell on it, extra. Explain. Remember, X, as it appears in most English words, not talking about xylophone, that's a bad example, but extra and explain, K and S are the two sounds from the one letter. Extra, explain. Instruct is clear. Sight screen, forgetting about the GH, even though they are consonant letters. Sight screen, T, S, K, R. They're all discrete sounds in their own right. And watch strap, watch strap, watch strap. Do I elide when I say watch strap? Is it watch strap or watch strap? Watch strap. Depends on how lazy I'm feeling, I suppose. But there is a definite ch, ch. That's one sound. St, r. All right? So these are consonant clusters that you see in the middle of words. And then plans of action. Okay, I want to give you three little things that you can think about doing when you're dealing with consonant clusters. So what can you do about making sure that you're dealing with consonant clusters in the right way? Well, the first thing that you can do is avoid adding a sound to the middle of a consonant cluster. Okay, so beautiful is the word. I'm sorry that I'm going to give these as bad examples, but they're examples of things that I've heard over my many years of teaching, not only teaching here at E2 Language, but in other contexts too. You will find that what people commonly do is add a sound, an invisible sound, or a sound that they think ought to be there, just because they think that they can make the word sound better to their ear. Street, street. So street might be treat, so treat. So you sort of add this sort of invisible sound between the s and the t sound. Price, price is another example. So you won't say price with one, you would say price, and you make it into two syllables. Remember what I mentioned earlier, that idea of, is it one syllable or is it two syllables? If I know it's meant to be one syllable and it sounds like I'm saying two, it could be that I'm doing something like price instead of price. Friendes, friendes. If you don't have these bad habits, I don't want you to acquire them. I'm only mentioning them as the sort of things that we see in general as far as dealing with consonant clusters is concerned. And lengths, lengthers, lengthers, if you like, that idea of putting in a beat between the end of the th phoneme and the s phoneme on the end. So lengths, lengthers. So again, these are bad habits. If you're doing them, stop doing them. And if you're not doing them, don't start. The next thing you can do is adding invisible schwas. The schwa, remember the sound, before a word. This is not unusual and it goes across many different language groups. If you're doing this, stop doing it because it's quite weird. Special becomes a special. Skeptical becomes a skeptical, and slow becomes a slow. This is not only happening with words beginning with the s sound, but it is a particular problem with the s sound. Also with the f sound, as in fine and fight. You might find that you are adding that invisible sound beforehand, okay? Keep the consonant clusters pure. Don't pollute them with unwelcome additional sounds. Then the other thing, and I touched on this before and I will explain here, focus on consonant clusters that are of a particular challenge to your language group, okay? So when you look at, as we all do nowadays, and this is an online platform, when you look online and imagine you are a Hindi speaker, you can actually go and say, what are pronunciation issues for Hindi speakers of English? Okay, a very common problem across numerous languages is the th sound. We've talked about it before, the voiced and the unvoiced th, as it were, as in sixth, and throng. Years ago, I had a student, Luis, who could not say th at all. And I challenged him, and eventually he proved me wrong. I said, you'll never say 30th. And he worked very hard on it, and finally he said, I can say 30th. Of course, there was a lot of saliva going everywhere, but that is a particular challenge to Luis's language group. It's not the only challenge, but don't waste time thinking about problems that are not relevant for your language group. Be quite focused. What is it that's an issue as far as consonant clusters are concerned in relation to my own particular language group, okay? Like I say, keep looking at our blog. I think we will be doing a lot of interesting work relating to pronunciation, consonant clusters, and how it pertains to each of the language groups. But broadly speaking, you'll see that certain things are easy for you, it just is, because there is that similarity in relation to the English language, and some things are unreasonably difficult. That's just something you have to come to grips with. But don't waste your time trying to practice things that aren't a problem for you. So there you are. There's the plan of action. Number 1, avoid adding the sounds in the middle of a cluster. Number 2, never add the invisible schwa before a word. And 3, focus on the clusters that are relevant to your group. Now, here's your homework. I want you to write 5 words for each of these initial consonant clusters. Remember, we have the initial, the middle, and the final clusters. So I thought about this and I ran it past a couple of students before I brought it to you, but here are the sounds. 5 words for each of these. Pl, pr, bl, br, and tw. I think that's it. Pl, br, bl, br, and tw. No rude words, please. Okay, keep it clean. You'll find that there are many, many, many more consonant clusters in the English language than you'll ever actually use. So we have focused on ones and we have looked at ones today which are in regular use. They're not random or obscure. Pl, pr, bl, br, and tw are very common initial consonant clusters. So please find 5 words for each of those. I don't think it'll be too difficult for you, and we'll check out my words when we're together again next week. Okay, as usual, if you're not a member, please become a member. If you are a member, thanks for joining me again. And we will meet again next week. This is the 10th of our cycle, so we have a couple more before the end of this particular cycle. And yeah, thanks for joining me. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.